16 years ago, Nina got married to Ben, whom she had been dating for 2 years before. She had already graduated from university and had a good job in her speciality, so she decided that now it was a good time to settle her personal life, especially since she had a reliable man by her side, as she thought at the time. Some time after the wedding, Ben and Nina decided to have a child, but no matter how many times they tried, nothing worked. Ben was very nervous about it. He often snapped and went out of the home. Nina offered him to have a complete checkup, but the man flatly stated that he didn't have any problems and that he was perfectly healthy. This often led to conflicts, and the man did not hesitate to use insults and humiliation. After many unsuccessful attempts, Ben finally listened to his wife and had a full examination. When the results were ready, only Nina came to the doctor because Ben was busy at work. It turned out that the woman was perfectly healthy, but her husband couldn't have children. Nina knew how much Ben desired a son, so she decided not to tell him the bad news. She lied to her husband that she had some problems, so she could have some treatment, and Ben just shrugged because everything was just as he had said. After a while, he continued snapping and insulting Nina again because she couldn't get pregnant. One day, Nina was unable to stand it and left home for a couple of days. These days she spent at her former classmate, Paul, who willingly took her in, comforted her, listened. One evening, during all this talk, they drank too much and then did not notice how they ended up in a bed. It was the one time she hated herself, and Nina decided not to tell her husband about her sin, but after a while she took her test, and it was positive. Ben was happy. He even started to treat his wife well for a while. 9 months later, they had a son named Connor. At first, Ben was the perfect father, but after a few months, he seemed to get bored and started snapping at Nina again, especially when the boy was crying. As time went on, things were just like they were before their son was born, maybe even worse. Nina herself didn't understand how she could live with her husband for 16 years, but after so many years, she finally realized that she couldn't live like that anymore. One day, Ben and Nina were called to school because Connor was being a bully. Ben nonchalantly told Nina to take care of it herself. When she arrived at school, she saw that her son was being scolded by his classmate's mother and the teacher. She wanted to stand up for her son, but Connor just ran away. After speaking with the teacher and the offended boy's mother, Nina returned home and waited for her son. It was almost 9 p.m. and Connor had not shown up at home. "We have to do something. Let's go to the police in case something happens to him." "Nothing will happen to him. I'm sure he just stayed at some friend. He'll be back in the morning," said Ben, sitting in front of the TV. "He's not at a friend's house. I've already called everyone several times," objected Nina. "Are you completely stupid? He's doing it deliberately to be forgiven for all his faults at school," replied Ben, still watching another talk show on the TV. Nina was furious, and she was also anxious. Realizing that this was the last straw, she finally pronounced loudly and clearly what she had been wanting to say a long time. "It's a good thing that you're not Connor's father, because you can't have children. I cheated on you 15 years ago, and he's not your son." Nina saw how he seemed to fade at that moment. She had reached his most sore spot. Nina got up and drove to the police to report the child missing. While she was driving, Connor finally called and apologized. Nina picked him up from his new girlfriend she didn't know about. When they got home, Ben was gone. The next time she saw him was in the divorce, and she never imagined she would feel so free at that moment.